Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. How much do I love you people? I'm going to tell you how much I love you people in a minute, but before we do that, I just have to do the usual introductory stuff. Welcome to Differently Wired, Episode 8, ladies and gentlemen. It's so good to be with you all again. My name is Max Derrat. Of course, you probably already know that. And joining me as always from, I keep forgetting where you are in Canada, John. John Tucker,
Crystal Beach.
Crystal Beach. I don't know where that is. Where is that in...
If you drive to Niagara and keep going until you bump into Lake Erie, that's where it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You moved down there so you can do some good shopping? Is that the idea?
Very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get
Good
all
shopping and walking on the beach.
deals. Well, maybe not at this time of year, but you got to be pragmatic about this sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again for another edition of the Differently Wired show. Before we get into the main stuff, I obviously just have to do the usual housekeeping. First of all, I know the majority of you know this, but I just got to keep doing this just to build the community. We have a Facebook page. If you want to hop on there, interact with other people who watch the show or watch my videos in general, make sure you go there. You can find a link to it in the description box below. And also, we have a Discord server per popular demand. We're almost at 200 people in there right now, and there's been a lot of great discussion. A very friendly community has popped up. No trolls, thankfully, which I'm very, very proud to say out loud. And don't worry about any potential trolls coming in because we have a very good security system set up at the moment. If you want to join the Discord server, make sure you look in the description box for a link to that too. It's completely open, and we look forward to seeing you there. Now, as before we actually get to the main topic, I just have to, first of all, I just want to see who's in the chat right now. Hi, Emerald Queen. Hello, Alina. Hello, Jade. Hello, Jesse. Hello, Project. Hello, Russell. Hello, Mind the Momarath. It's good to see you all there. Love you all very much. Thanks so much for joining us. Before we get to the main topic, I just want to let you guys know what I meant when I said how much I love you. Look, over the last few weeks, I have slowly but surely been moving to my new place, moving to a new home, and I've just been moving very, very small stuff gradually in my car over those past couple of weeks. But thankfully, I've been able to find time to do the Differently Wired show. But the last couple days is sort of when we did the big move, where we had to get the moving truck, put all of our big stuff onto it, and move it here. On top of that, I've been, moving all the big dressers and the shelves, as well as doing my usual 8 to 4 job. But I figured I didn't want to let you guys down and postpone the show, even though I was tempted to this morning because I was tired. And also, I don't know if you could tell, but I have a bit of a cough coming on. But I know you guys really enjoy the show and really enjoy the community, so I wanted to hang in there for you guys. And then I'm just going to pass out for 10 hours straight after the show. But with that out of the way, let's get on to the main topic of the show today, which is, of course, as you can tell by the title of this YouTube video, what to do during meltdowns. And this one was suggested to us by somebody in our Discord server. His name is Dear Boy. Thank you very much for that, Dear Boy. I don't know if anybody told you, but your avatar makes you look like a more fun-loving version of Teal Deer. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the YouTuber Teal Deer, but he looks exactly like Dear Boy. I don't know if that's intentional. But Dear Boy sort of suggested to us this topic because he was curious as to how to go about trying to prevent the usual damage that comes along with meltdowns, whether it's to yourself or to your surrounding environment or potentially to anybody that might witness, God forbid, the most violent meltdowns that you could possibly have happen to you. This is something that I've obviously felt great shame and stress over, as I'm sure a lot of people who have AS do, or even people that have mental health problems. Before I sort of get into what I do during meltdowns to sort of try and minimize the overall destructive nature of the meltdown, I just sort of wanted to ask John, I don't know, John, with your clientele, or if you even want to divulge this, or even if you can divulge this, but have you ever witnessed these types of meltdowns from uh, your clientele?
I am party to them on the phone or Zoom or Skype or something like that, where sometimes clients will call me in duress. And yeah, so I've sometimes seen it, but mostly I hear about it after the fact.
Right. And like when they're in duress, okay, so you've never actually seen them in person do it.
Mm, not really, not in my professional career.
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess that sort of makes sense because the few times that I've actually met you in person, because the majority of the conversations I've had with John are over the internet, over Skype, but because he did live in Toronto for a time, which is where I live near, I actually had the opportunity to go meet with him for a few sessions in the past, and he has a very calming office. He has this really soothing, what is it like, this water system. I don't know. It's like flowing over
Uh,
rocks.
a little baby fountain
A
and
li-
music playing and candles and
yeah,
all that, all that new age paraphernalia, you know.
yeah. You almost expect a Zen monk to walk in at any time. It's actually very relaxing. So I don't imagine any like sort of meltdown, violent meltdown would happen in that case because there's nothing to cause sensory overload. Um, th-
I have seen it though in other careers. When I was a school teacher and a school principal,
oh,
I have
sure.
seen people melt down, throw stuff, lose control, you know, and so most times professionals have to stand back and let the thing play itself out
Yeah, it's
and take cover, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, take cover, make sure there's no breakable objects or glass that's around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's quite something to witness a meltdown. I mean, like obviously you witness something like it when it comes to children and you're just beginning
Mm-hmm.
to indoctrinate them with morals and not to constantly give in to their childish instincts. But when you see it in an adult, it's really something.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know that in the few times in my life where I've had a meltdown and unfortunately somebody was around to witness it, they were appalled. It was like apparently to them it was like witnessing a tornado tear apart a house. That's how bad it can get. At least for me, it could probably get even worse than the way that it manifested in me. But in case some of you haven't watched my meltdowns video from my series called "The Truth About Asperger's Syndrome," what a meltdown is basically is it, what happens sometimes is that your brain is overwhelmed with sensory information. So let's say all at once, maybe the sun is too bright, maybe the weather's too cold, maybe there's too many loud noises, maybe you're constant, like your mind is barraged by a whole bunch of different responsibilities that you have to do in a particular day. And all this comes to a head, and your brain literally can't process it anymore, and it has to find an outlet. I likened it to uh, two different, like, I, in the original video, what I did is I put one person who has an AS brain and another person that just has a quote unquote normal brain side by side. And I compared them essentially to a modern age computer, which would be the person that doesn't have AS. And the person that has AS sort of has a computer that runs Windows 98, right? So that would be me. I would be the guy who has the brain that has Windows 98. Now, hypothetically, what you could do with the modern computer, you can do with Windows 98. The only problem is it's going to be a whole lot slower, right? You have to plan out exactly what you're going to do to try and minimize the stress. Otherwise, your computer just blue screens and shuts down, right? So that's essentially what happens inside my brain or in the brain with anybody that has AS. Although the problem is, unlike a computer where it just malfunctions and shuts down, um, well, for the most part, a human brain can't do that. It has to find some sort of outlet, and that outlet takes the form of what seems to be a violent temper tantrum. And oftentimes, because it's like the source of this problem is your brain, you'll often see people with AS hit themselves in the side of the head, which is something that I unfortunately did a lot. Thankfully, I haven't suffered any long term consequences from that. And thankfully, I've been able to develop a sort of support system for myself so I can minimize that type of damage. But I'll get sort of more into what I do for myself personally. I'm more interested in sort of what John does in these types of situations because while it's stressful for his client, I can't imagine sort of the responsibility that you feel in that particular moment when somebody calls you up and says, I'm feeling this way.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, to begin with, meltdown isn't a logical part of your brain that's at work. So if somebody tries to talk you out of feeling bad, they're going to waste a lot of energy and time and actually probably make it worse.
Yeah, your
So
rational faculties are completely gone.
that's right. So approaching you with a rational solution, oh, just sit down, oh, just be quiet, oh, stop worrying, this is not a really good strategy to use with someone who's distraught and under duress. So um, what the focus of this question is what you do during a meltdown. So I'm thinking of what you do during a meltdown. And what you do is, as you would alluded to earlier, you have a kind of support system in place. So you have a plan for when you're, all this overcomes you. And you need to reach for things that are not logical, rather safe or calming for you. Or it could be a mantra. It could be something that you say over and over that actually works for you. It could be recalling something. It could be calling somebody who will listen to you. So what I do when somebody calls me like that, and it's happened recently, not too infrequently actually, I just listen, and I don't try to talk them out of like feeling worried or stressed or anything. I just listen, and I try to understand what it is that's making things all go wonky. So what I'm trying to do is get a flow of conversation going, which is a respectful back and forth, not logical, just gentle and listening. So I think what you do is you reach for those things that you say, okay, if I'm really feeling under stress, this is what I'm going to grab onto, hold onto, call, do, um, and sort of practice it in your mind. So you've got a kit, which is a very short kit. It could be a few words you reassure yourself. It could be a number you call. It could be a particular person that's in your vicinity who's good company for in that time. So other than that, you got to kind of ride it out.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. You have to ride it out, but
Hmm.
you have to also realize, and I'll sort of take a cue from what you just suggested as a piece of advice. You need sort of a mantra to repeat to yourself. One thing that you can tell yourself constantly is that, hey, this is going to pass. It might be like 5 minutes, it might be 20 to 30 minutes, but it will pass and you will get through it. Your rational faculties will come back. And one thing that you can do to also going off of what John just said is find something that you can default to. Just do something that you don't really think about, but you just do it so that you can help yourself. Like John said, once you start to feel this way, maybe there's a number you can call. There are distress lines. Not even. Sometimes when I say distress lines, people think I'm talking about suicide hotlines. No, no, no. There are lines where you could just call people because you're feeling distressed and you don't know how to overcome your emotions and you just need somebody to talk to. I use that all the time. Not so much lately, but I have used it frequently in the past. What else? Yeah, as for myself, I'll give you a good example of my most recent meltdown because, like I just said, I've been moving recently, right? Let me sort of paint a picture for you regarding how to properly handle a meltdown. Not properly. When I say properly, I mean how it worked for me properly. It might not work for you, but just take it for what it is. Like I just said, I've been moving, and up here in Canada, as the entire world knows, it's very cold here. We all of our electronics are powered by stoves, powered by oil. We ride dog sleds to work. All the stereotypes are true. No, I'm kidding. But anyways, the thing is, moving with 10 centimeters of snow falling down on your head, it gets very, very cold outside. Plus, there's always metal clanking against each other, and the fact of the matter is, I also have a bit of a bad back. I've inherited that from my mom and my dad. And all these different things coming together, plus the fact that I have to stay on top of my YouTube channel, make sure that my community's happy. All this sort of came to a head a couple days ago, and I felt a meltdown coming on. So I stopped what I was doing. I stopped helping moving stuff onto the moving van, and I just retreated to my room and put on headphones, and I just had to bawl my eyes out, right? It's not really something I could help. And thankfully, uh, because my mother has been particularly supportive of my endeavors to help people with AS. She came in while this was happening and she said, "What's going on?" And I said, "I'm having a meltdown." And she knew exactly what to do. She just left me alone. And I was ready to go and help her again within 15 minutes. And she realized that, hey, it might be a good idea for me to just wear headphones, not even playing music, not even playing white noise, just as long as I had something to sort of muffle all any form of sensory input that might cause me to go into a meltdown. And thankfully, we're at the new house right now where I got pretty much everything moved over here and we're starting to unpack and things are okay now. I was able to get my rational faculties back. So that's one way of handling it. Obviously, there are very different circumstances, very unique circumstances where a meltdown can come about and you might need to do certain things. And if there are certain situations that you guys sort of want to bring up that you want us to discuss in this particular episode of the show or in a future episode, let me just instruct you on how to do that. I'm trying to make a good segue out of this because we're going to go into the mailbag segment of the show right now. Now, like I just said, if you have anything related to this particular topic or topics related to mental health or autism, I encourage you to email us anytime at the email that you see on screen right now, which is maxderrat@yahoo.ca. Or if you want to try and get a live question on the show that we actually read live during this particular broadcast, make sure you go on Twitter and use the hashtag differentlywired. Or if you want to ensure that your question gets answered, because sometimes we lose time at the end of the show and we can't get to all the Twitter questions, make sure you use the super chat function down below. Plus, by using the super chat function, it really helps us out. It helps us keep the show running, that we can invest it so that we can build the show and make it become something larger in the future. Anyways, with that out of the way, I want to get to the very first question of the day, and this question comes to us from Russell Mooney, and Russell writes, "Greetings, Max and John. I recently realized that I have Asperger's and voiced concerns to a friend of mine who is also one of the managers where I work over various symptoms, how they've been worsening over the last year or two, and what type of response might come if anything happens during a shift. My other managers don't know yet, and while he has promised not to say anything without my permission, he is encouraging me to notify them so they know what to watch for. I know he's right, and I do plan to, but the thought makes me uneasy, even though everyone there are great people. My friend has offered to tell them on my behalf if I want, but I feel as if this is something I need to do myself. I was wondering if you could offer any advice on how to talk about it without almost shutting down or completely stressing out in the process. Thank you in advance, Russell M." I feel like I've been talking a little bit too much this episode, so I'm just going to pass this off to John to answer quickly before I give my input.
Okay, that's fine. I'm very impressed with this friend who is a man full of Max's, uh, confidentiality. He's given him good advice, um, and Russell, I should say, Russell needs this good advice, and he ought to tell them. He's saying, uh, "My friend has offered to tell them on my behalf, but he feels as if this is something I need to do myself." It's not actually something you need to do yourself. That's maybe an artifact of a cultural thing. Men do this, men don't cry, or men blah, blah, blah. It seems to me quite okay if you can be comfortable with letting your friend tell them on your behalf, providing you're okay with that. And it sounds like you're in a good place where there are good people. It's probably smart to let him do that. You don't have to shut down. You can answer questions if they need to answer questions. You and your friend could actually talk about the things to cover. But if it makes it easier for the organization that you're open and upfront, and this guy is representing you, it sounds okay to me. Go ahead and let him do that.
Yeah, I agree. Because the manager, he knows the other managers longer than you have, presumably, right? And by letting him do it for you, he knows how to appeal to their better natures. One thing that I would recommend that you ask your friend to do on your behalf is to get across to them that by telling them that you have AS, you anticipate that by just gaining their understanding, you might be able to do an even better job than you did before. Here's a bit of an example. At the job that I currently have, I refrained from telling my employers that I had AS because sometimes telling people that you have AS doesn't always work out in your favor. But I found that by telling them that I had these particular problems, I am prone to sensory overload, for example, that it can impact my work. However, if I'm put into a particular position where, or doing a particular job where these symptoms don't necessarily have to arise, I can do much better work than probably most of the other employees do. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. My employers trust in me that, hey, if I get assigned to these particular jobs, I can get them done quickly and efficiently, and there won't be any lazing around or me going to them asking them what to do, right? So, in respect to your particular job, like I just said, just make sure you get across to them, hey, I really like working here. I want to continue to keep doing a good job for you guys. I want to be reliable and dependable. And if you can get your manager to do that and they're already understanding people, I think you will be totally fine. And in fact, I look forward to whenever you decide to approach this, that you email us back and let us know how things go. We'd love to be able to read out success emails on the show, just to give people encouragement and realize, hey, if it worked for them, it might work for other people as well. Anyways, John, you have anything else to say on that?
It actually reminds me of a case I had the other day where a very enlightened manager recognized that he had one of the people on his staff who was very good at doing one thing at a time.
Mm.
If you left him alone, he could do one thing thoroughly. But if you gave him four things at once, it was too much and nothing got done. So he spoke to the other folks on the team and said, look, give him one thing, leave him alone. He is reliable as can be, but don't expect him to answer the phone and do this and do this and do this. And it worked fine. Any good manager realizes that people are different and they work different ways. Somebody's really good at this, somebody's really good at that. They will allow people to thrive in the strongest places that they can thrive. So I think it's a good way to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's also the manager's job to make sure to know how to use their employees particularly well. And if they
Yep.
get rid of potential talent that can support their business, then that's their loss.
Yep.
And there's a lot of talent to be mined when it comes to the AS community. Anyways, moving on to the next question. We got a sort of a bigger question here. Comes to us from a guy named Chris. And Chris writes, hi, Max. I wanted to ask you a few questions. One, why do you keep saying you deserve to be happy? I mean, sure, you and I and everyone else out there deserve to be happy, but what relevance does that have to do with anything? Since when does what anyone deserves have any bearing at all on reality? The victims of the Holocaust and the millions of African children who just starved to death in the time it took you to read this all deserve to be happy as well. But that did absolutely nothing to help any of them. It's as Clint Eastwood once said, deserves got nothing to do with it. Question 2. I keep hearing about how smart and talented all us Aspies are, but what of those of us who have to carry the burden of autism without the advantage of talent? I don't have any useful technical or artistic skills. I can't code, I don't play a musical instrument. I'm not even good at video games. The only thing I ever excelled at was academia, but because I am not a billionaire, I cannot just stay in school forever, and I do not have a degree that would qualify me to be a professor. I already exhausted all the financial aid that was available to me, and all I'm left with now is useless communications degree and crippling student loan debt. What hope is there for someone like me? Question 3. Something I've been wanting to do for several years is to go teach English in Southeast Asia, preferably Japan. Well, that's not really so. Well, anyways, but I'm concerned that my autism and anxiety will cause me problems. From what I understand, they do not treat those disorders there, and most of the medications which could help manage them aren't even legal. Is this something I could realistically do, or is it just one more dream I have to give up on? Thank you. Best regards, Chris. Okay, so let's go in order here. So the first question has to do with something that I say at the end of my Truth About Asperger's Syndrome videos. At the end of every single video, I say, you deserve to be happy. And a lot of people have taken issue with this. um, I can understand why if you look at it from a particular perspective, but I'll just explain here quickly so you can realize that it's not really that controversial. Sometimes people with AS accept that they must be relegated to a form of misery due to symptoms. It's like it's accepted helplessness. I think I don't know if that's the medical term, but that's essentially what it is. It's that when you figure out that there are certain things about you that can't be quote unquote fixed, then you resign yourself to being used to the terribleness that comes with these symptoms, and that you won't be able to live a life like that of a quote unquote normal human being. So when I say you deserve to be happy, whenever I say that and I look in the comment section and people respond positively to that, the reason why they respond positively is because it's like a light goes off in their heads and they are enchanted by the idea that AS does not have to control every moment of their lives. The prospect that they can live a life just like anybody else, um, and be as happy as anybody else without having AS control every moment of their lives sounds like a godsend. And once they see the possible logical trajectory that can get them from where they are now to an ideal future, it's what's the word? It's invigorating, right? So that's why I say it's because for a period of time in my life, I thought to myself how ashamed I was to have AS and how negatively impacted my life. And I figured that I would never be able to uh, be social like everybody else or live a normal life where I can support myself emotionally, financially, because I had these problems. But then I realized how many different support systems are out there, whether they're systemic or you get them from friendships or relationships. And I'm currently on my way there right now. You know, I'm doing YouTube. I'm working a part-time job on the side, and things are going great right now. I'm actually making my way there. And when I say that, and I show people when I talk to people and they tell me about their particular interests and their talents, and I sort of discuss with them how they can move forward, it gives them a lot of hope. I don't does that make any sense? I feel like I kind of rambled there, John.
No, it makes sense because what you're doing is you're saying you deserve to be happy from the inside out. The fact that there are horrible things that have happened that are distressing and that can give people nightmares that last a lifetime doesn't mean you are responsible for the condition you were born with. It's not your responsibility. You shouldn't have to feel shame or a victim. You need to take your strengths and work with them. So, to me, saying you deserve to be happy is a way of saying you deserve to be treated as well as you can be treated, and you especially need to treat yourself well.
Yeah, treat yourself as if you're looking after somebody that you love,
Yeah,
right? Isn't that
that's
one of
right.
the things in Jordan Peterson's book?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
actually haven't read that book, but you know I've heard the one of the 12 rules every now and then thrown back and forth. But yeah, it's true, and golden rule and all that. Anyways, the second question, what did he say? Um, what about people that have autism that don't have particular talents that stand out to them? Well, John, you're pretty good when it comes to talking about this sort of stuff. You know, your recommendation of the book, "What Color Is Your Parachute," and all that. What advice would
Yeah.
you give to Chris?
Well, actually, everybody does have talents, and they're all in different fields. Sometimes we think the thing we like doing and have fun doing and enjoy doing isn't connected to a talent or a skill that we can use. But usually there is a talent or a skill hidden underneath whatever this is that seems strong. Now, if you're neurobiologically diverse, you can't play by somebody else's rule book if it's not interesting, or it doesn't turn you on in any way. You have to actually go with what you're good at. Uh, Chris is good at academia. Okay. There is a way to bridge this poverty-stricken state that he is in, and somehow or another, it's not a question that he should not be in academia. It's a question of the strategy that will work. So you may need to consult with the right kind of people, or friendly kind of people who will help you develop a strategy to put that skill and talent. By the way, academia is not nothing. That's great stuff. Uh, so it's just a question of finding the route, finding the way. Some of my clients have gone through academia on other people's money, or public money, or bursaries for students with disabilities, depending on what country you're in. But you don't actually have to have money to take advantage of your academic talent. You just need to be smart and get the right kind of resources.
Yeah. There's always different things that you can get into if you happen to have a, I don't want to say overzealous, over acute interest in one or more academic subjects. You can be a part of a think tank, or you can be a teacher. There's different things that you can do there. And obviously, yeah, I'd follow John's recommendation. If this is the state that you're in right now and you don't really know exactly where to go, obviously seek out some form of job counseling, whether that's within your university or outside, depending on what type of field you want to go into. And yeah, as far as going to teach, where did you say in Japan? Um, well, I mean, in certain Asian cultures, this is a comment that I've received from a lot of people on my Truth About Asperger's Syndrome videos, is that a lot of the problems that we worry about here in the West, such as eye contact, which people with AS tend to not be very good at, or general socialization, a lot of those different social cues are almost non-existent in Japan. Apparently it's rude to look people in the eye in certain Asian cultures, whereas in the West, it's pretty much demanded, right? So if you're worried about autism or anxiety, I wouldn't be as worried about that sort of thing, especially when it comes to classrooms, because let's face it, if you're in a classroom and you're the teacher, you're the boss, right? And you can assert some level of control to make sure that people behave and don't take advantage of your insecurities, right? So if you're going there to teach kids, I'm sure that would be an ideal situation for you. And if not Japan, somewhere else. There's always people out there that are looking to learn English, right? Anyways,
I've had some clients who've had wonderful experiences teaching in the East, Korea, various parts of Asia. So I would definitely think this is a dream you do not need to give up on. You just need to do a bit of homework on.
yeah, absolutely. And if you need some further advice or recommendations, make sure you reach back out to us just to let us know how things are going, just like I said for Russell. Okay, moving on to the third question. This one comes to us from Logan Rybak. And Logan writes, "Hello, Mr. Max Derrat and Mr. John Tucker. My name is Logan, and I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I was about 9 or 10 years old. I'm writing you today on Tuesday, February 19th, 2019, because I've had a problem with relationships my whole life so far. I was always awkward with talking to females throughout middle and high school, and I could never get a girlfriend. And I still can't. And I've scared away a few girls in the past because I didn't register at the time that I was coming across as needy and not giving them enough space. I am currently 20 years old, and I often get upset over thinking that I'm never going to find somebody who is fit for me, and I admittedly cry, which I can't really control because the feeling is so overwhelming. I also feel like no girl or woman on this earth could ever give me a chance. Is there any advice you can give me to help me be able to feel more comfortable with at least talking to girls/women more often and to possibly get a date? Thank you, Logan Rybak." Okay, Logan, bro time, man. I'm gonna try and help you out here. Um, First of all, the most important thing that you have to do, you sort of already mentioned there, is that you can't let it slip that you're needy. When you talk to women, you need to talk to them as if the conversation that you're about to engage in with them is just another conversation, right? You gotta see a sort of perverse aspect of the whole dating mechanism, if you sort of want to put it that way, is that one thing that you need to get communicate to women, whether you do it verbally or non-verbally, preferably non-verbally, is that if this encounter goes wrong, you will be fine when it comes to other encounters with the opposite sex, right? You got to communicate that sense of confidence. Now, I know it's a little bit easier said than done, especially when you have AS, but you can do this by just not defaulting to language that makes you come across as needy. Like, you don't want to sound overly romantic. You don't want to start citing poetry. That's not good, especially when you first start talking to chicks, right? So that's one thing. Also, develop a sense of self worth from your pre existing abilities, or develop new ones. You know, you want girls want to talk to somebody that's interesting. I mentioned this on previous shows, but what I did when I was younger to sort of overcome my pre existing social awkwardness is by playing a musical instrument. Instead of striking up conversations with girls, I would just start playing Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles or Hey There Delilah by the Plain White Tees, you know, one of those songs that always gets the chicks going. And I play that and they come over and like, oh, wow, you play so well. Can you play this? And then that would just be the way the conversations would start, right? That doesn't have to be music. It can be something else. I don't know, like what exactly your particular interests are. And if you know you don't have something that can sort of draw women to you, one other thing that I would recommend that has helped me a lot in the past is instead of going up and striking a conversation with women in person, you can do it online. My ex girlfriend, who I was with for 2.5 years, I met her through a website called sevencups.com. It's not exactly a dating site. I just, it's actually a site that you go to when you just want to talk to a complete stranger about your problem. You can sign up there to be a listener, and these listeners will talk to random people like me or you about random problems that you have. I just happened to come across this one woman, and she seemed to think that I had enough qualities and made me interesting. And we went beyond that website, and the rest is history, right? So those are just a few suggestions. One other thing before I pass this off to John. Um, I have a Discord. There's some single women in there. Um, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you should hit on them, but if you're looking for certain suggestions about how to approach women and you want to ask women directly and you don't want them to judge you and they actually want to help you out, there's a great support system that's going on right now in my Discord, and there people have been very, very receptive and helpful to each other. So maybe consider that. John, do you have anything else that you want to suggest?
I have noticed that folks with AS are better off when they are online quite often because they're a lot more control over what is said. They have time to think.
Yes.
Less senses are entrained, so there's less things to worry about. So you can take time to compose a little note. And I love the idea of Logan, you going into the Discord and letting people know, and then friendly folks will respond. Actually, being able to talk about it in a friendly place where you're received uh, will make it a lot easier. The other thing that occurs to me is that it's great if you've got some kind of a friend, male or female friend, who can work with you on stuff like this. Talk about it back and forth, suggest, hang out with you, and just get over that feeling of anguish and worry when you're faced with, because it will work. My wife likes to say there's a lid for every pot. People will find people that they can work with if they just have a little patience.
Just a little patience. Okay. Um,
Kathy?
what?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to move on to the next segment. I just wanted to say, while the subject's on hand, to all the ladies in my Discord, I am currently single. Anyways, let's move on to the next segment of the show where this is pretty new. We're going to be taking your calls. Now, if you guys want to actually talk to John and I directly, voice to voice through Discord, make sure you join the aforementioned Discord server and go into the call in. Let's see, what did I actually title it in my server? I called it Call In Sign Up. It's the name of the text chat. You just go in there, put in your name, and you can come on here and talk to us directly. Now, I'm going to unmute a couple people, one of whom you might recognize from last week's show, Max Dankley, and another guy by the name of, I can't remember how to pronounce your name.
Fred de Grun.
Perixicon. I'm just gonna. Can I call you Bob? No, I'll call you Perixicon. It's just a memory thing. Hi guys, how's it going?
Good.
Hello,
Also,
Derrat.
I changed my name to my actual name, Joel. So if that helps.
Oh, thank God. Okay, thank you, Joel. It's a memory thing, Like it's big names. I'm not so good on that. Ferdinand, Sequoia. Don't ask.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, I should probably change it to make this easier.
What is Perixicon, anyways?
It's I
think it's
went
Latin.
to I went to a school for sword fighting, and I advanced to the level of actually getting a knighthood. So it's actually my knighthood oath name.
Oh, so do we have to refer to you as Sir Joel?
No, you can just call me as Joel.
Ah, cool. Okay, first name basis. I'm on a name basis with the knight, Sean. Okay.
Good night.
Yeah, good night indeed. So what did you guys want to talk about? Joel, was there anything in particular that you wanted to discuss? I guess because Max was here last week.
Yeah, you can go for.
Okay, yeah. Joel?
Reading Logan's email, I was there the exact same way. To make people laugh, my current girlfriend, I met her online, but the situation is that she was the leader of the admins of the group. So one thing that worried me so much, where if she said no, I would have just been kicked from the group completely and just totally rejected. So yeah, it's hard to find the one out there, but give it time.
Sorry, I just there are people in the chat that are complaining that I haven't received their emails. 23 ZTAC 9615. Make sure you send your email to me again, and make sure you put your name in the title of your email, so that way I can tell you that I actually received it. I have been staying on top of everybody's emails. Anyways, Joel, how did you meet your current girlfriend?
There's a social community app called Amino, and we're
Amino?
both massive. Yeah.
Like amino acid?
Ah,
Ha
Yeah. But we're both massive Legend of Zelda fans, and I joined that group. She was already an admin, and we just started talking. And like 3 months later, I told her I liked her.
Oh. Well, you can't go wrong with somebody that's a fan of Legend of Zelda. I mean, that means they got good taste. What's her favorite Zelda game?
Twilight Princess.
Ooh, that's wow. I trust that you see. No, I'm just joking. I when it comes to Zelda games, I sort of have a personal barometer. If they say that Majora's Mask is their particular favorite, then I know she's the one for me. right? But hey,
Yeah.
if she's the one for you and
Well,
her favorite is Twilight Princess, more power to you, dude.
well, I like Twilight Princess as well.
Okay, right on. I just
Mhm.
I'm just joking. You know I'm joking, right?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
And to be honest, I haven't. As somebody that likes to consider himself a gamer, I haven't really played that many of the Zelda games. I played obviously Majora's Mask.
I have barely played any Zelda games, so you're not alone.
There's a lot of them. What are there? There's obviously the first two for the NES, Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. God, wow, there's
Breath
been
of
a
the
lot.
Wild,
Breath of the Wild, obviously.
Four
Um,
Swords,
Four Swords, yeah.
Spirit Tracks, Phantom Hourglass,
Oh, and don't
so
forget the
on.
CDI games.
Oh yeah.
But we
We
don't
don't talk
talk
about
about
that.
those. Yeah, exactly. We don't talk about those. Only in YouTube poops. Kudos to anybody that gets that reference.
Oh my god. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Max, other Max Stankley, do you have a girlfriend by chance?
The closest thing that does count right now is I met in a debate tournament back in late January. We were supposed to meet each other again today, but the debate tournament got canceled.
Hmm.
But so apparently she really likes anime, and we started talking and all that, and I ended up getting her. And I mean, we haven't really done much. We just talked on Discord, and yada yada. She is a cosplayer.
Oh, she's a
Oh
cosplayer. What kind of
yeah,
Yeah,
my
cosplay?
girlfriend is a cosplayer as well.
God damn it!
she cosplay
Why can't I have cool
cosplay.
girlfriends that cosplay? Anyways, go ahead.
She does some of My Hero Academia characters. She cosplayed as Shuichi Saihara. If anybody knows who Shuichi Saihara is, it's a Danganronpa character. See what else? She did. Oh, I think she did cosplay as Divas once.
John has
Excuse me.
no idea what we're talking about. What?
None at all. None at all.
That-
They all look the same to me. But somebody on the chat room, ATF, blah, blah, I don't even game, so it's hard to have conversations. That makes me think you should mention that Seven Cups, whatever. What was that title of the thing, Max? You
Okay.
met people on. It wasn't about gaming, but it was a way to connect.
Okay, so yeah, let me elaborate very quickly. It's a very, very simple URL. It's the number 7 and then cups. So like cups that you drink out of. 7 cups, all one word, .com. The whole purpose of the website is that if you have a particular problem that you just want to talk over with somebody, you can do so by going to 7cups.com and applying to find somebody that is self-dubbed a listener. You can sign up to be a listener. You just have to take a short test beforehand. One of the reasons some people go on to Seven Cups and become listeners is because you can do so as an internship if you're part of a psychology program. And because my ex-girlfriend is currently going to school for psychology, that's what she did at Seven Cups. And she talked to me through that, and that was one way that you can do it. It doesn't even have to be a psychologist either. You can sign up, and as long as you have basic credentials, you can be a part of that. And there's a lot of very nice people there, very kind people that want to point out the strengths that you have and make you feel good about yourself and show you a path to where you can exploit your strengths so that you can live a better life. It's something I'd highly recommend. If I remember, I'll make sure to put a link to it in the description box below so you guys can go check it out. Anyways, I don't know if we should continue talking about video games because I know that not everybody will know much
Play.
about that or play. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Metal Gear all day, and hey, I could tell you what my ideal girlfriend will cosplay as Meryl Silverberg. Kudos to anybody who gets that reference. I don't know what else should we talk about. Joel.
Workplace.
Yep. Yeah. What where are you guys currently working?
I am a full-time machinist at actually my dad's company, so I'm running CNC machines. And for those of you who don't know what CNC means, it's computer numerical controller, where I write down a program, I plug it into the machine, and instead of manually machining a part, that program will tell the machine to do all that for me.
That's pretty cool. And how long have you been doing that
Sounds-
for?
Uh, let's see, 4 years.
Damn. Well, it sounds like you, yeah, you found something that appeals to you. Do you like your job?
Yeah, I love working with my hands. Also, one thing I've noticed is all the stuff in high school and college with all the trigonometry that made no sense on paper, they
Mhm.
all came back and like, oh, this is what they were talking about.
A million different pieces suddenly come together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Like up until like, have you had any other jobs prior to that?
No.
No.
Well, I did do landscaping.
Oh, yeah. How did you find that?
I did it for 2 summers as I was looking for a job.
Right.
It was nice because I was able just to. It was a business I was running just by myself, so
Oh,
I was able to just be alone, do the work, just not have to deal with people.
well, that's good. I'm glad that you found your stride with that. I just, whenever I hear landscaping, that sounds like hell to me, only because I'm allergic to everything that originates from the outdoors. I'm literally, if I touch a birch tree, I'll break out in hives and turn into something akin to Marvel's The Thing, or even John Carpenter's The Thing. Anyways, that's besides the point. But I'm glad that you sort of skipped the stressful process that a lot of people with AS tend to go through when it comes to job hunting. I'm glad that you're found something that is meaningful to you and that can sustain you. And hopefully, people that are listening can take your example and live by it. Just about to run out of time. I got a couple super chats to read out in a second, but I was just wondering, Max, Stankley, or Joel, was there anything else that you wanted to say before we signed off until next week?
Yeah,
Which
I
Yeah,
have
you,
one.
you,
Max, you go first.
all right. So I noticed that I interact a lot better over on stuff like Discord or voice over internet calls or phone calls better
Yes.
than I do in actual conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's the main reason why most of my friends are online. It's just because I feel like I can be of greater use and a lot more
Oh,
friendly when I'm not worrying about body language or stuff like that.
hold up.
No, yeah.
I'm taking a Spanish 2 class right now, and this is the final year I think before I don't have to take Spanish anymore. But this is in at least here in the Americas. There are 4 quarters. We're on the last quarter before we hit summer, and my Spanish teacher is now starting to switch from complete Spanish, and now I'm over here thinking, oh crap, I know what we're being taught, but I don't know what she's exactly saying.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm over here thinking, oh god, I'm gonna survive this. And she penalizes the entire class if you speak English, even a dose of English in the class.
Yeah, I feel your pain because I've been trying to learn French my entire life, and while I can speak it, write it, read it to an extent, I can't understand a single word of it when it's spoken back to me. It's a pain in the ass, and I don't know if it's something that has to do with AS specifically.
I don't know. Do you think John have answers or
Sorry.
Uh,
no, nothing?
Oh, okay.
Nothing. But
could
yeah,
I
but
add on?
Sorry, Joel.
Yeah. You don't
Could
see Adam.
Yeah, go ahead, Joel.
So, talking about languages, the relationship I am in is a long distance relationship, meaning that I live in Michigan. My girlfriend lives in Netherlands, Europe.
Nice. Dutch girl.
That'll work.
Yes. Uh-huh. So I'm thankful that my girlfriend speaks amazing English. Same with her sister and her dad.
Mm.
So with me trying to speak a language and write it, it doesn't help because I have dyslexia and also
Mm.
I have a physical uh, problem with my mouth. It was formed wrong as I was growing up.
Oh, okay.
But I've noticed that now a lot more just when I'm listening to their conversations over the phone and they're speaking Dutch, I can pick out words more than before.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Speaking, going back to languages, I can't really understand too well a word of Spanish, but when it comes to Laos, I can't speak it, but I can understand some bits of it.
It's so weird the way that works, right? Like the way that certain people apprehend languages. Like my friend Mike, he half of his family is Italian. He can't speak it, but whenever it's spoken to him, he gets it. It drives me nuts. I wish I could figure out how to do that. It's something that apparently you can only really do when
I,
you're a
I,
kid.
I, I can explain to you very well. Once people start speaking the same for similar phrases to you after a long time, they will probably say simple phrases to you if you don't understand it. So after a while, like, oh yeah, I know what this phrase means. I know it means to do this and that. You know exactly what it means.
Yeah, and maybe my problem is that I need to immerse myself more so that I can recognize those patterns because people with AS tend to be pretty good with pattern recognition.
It's it's usually I mean for me from what I see I think it's usually you only see people that understand it but can't speak it or write it is familial reason.
Mm.
Mhm.
So I think from what I understand, I think your family is probably pure English.
Yeah, I'm boringly English. Yeah, half Irish, half England.
Yeah. That's probably the reason why you don't understand it too well. If you have a family that's by you kind of get it.
Plus, it doesn't help the fact that my dad isn't really interested in other cultures, and neither is my mom, so they didn't even think to include me in French immersion, which would have been dope. But anyways, maybe I need. That's the main lesson that we can take away from this call is that if you want to learn a language,
Immerse yourself in it.
Survival instincts.
and if you want to find a girlfriend, I think Joel and I serve as good examples that if you want to find somebody that's pretty accepting, look for one that's overseas. Because my ex girlfriend was from Romania, and like your girlfriend Joel, she spoke perfect English and she was very understanding.
Yeah, and it's been over a year into our dating
Nice,
life, so
congratulations.
still going strong.
Um, I was gonna make a Zelda innuendo, but I won't because this is a family show. Anyways, before we go, I just have one super chat that I got to read out that was sent in to us from Project 3000. Thank you so much for sending that in, Project. He sends in $10. He says, "Hello, Max and John. Thank you for bringing us this series. First of all, thank you for sending in your super chat, man. Secondly, what do you do when your manager asks you to mask your feelings when you're dealing with a meltdown?" Well, I would say that you can do that, but what you need to do first is you need to calm down first, right? Because when you're having a meltdown, your capacity for rationality and controlling the way that you present your emotions is completely gone. You guys know what it's like to have a temper tantrum. You just want all your emotions to be completely expelled. You're not thinking about how you're presenting yourself to other people, It's especially the case with a meltdown, right? Whereas with a temper tantrum, you're sort of in control of your emotions. With the meltdown, it's almost impossible to be, right? So what I would try to get across to the manager is that, look, I will get back to my job. I'll make sure that I'm putting on a good face for the company. You just need to give me a few minutes so that I can get back to my previous state, and everything will be okay. Just please, I just need a little bit of your understanding. Does that sound sensible, John? I'm sorry that was sort of being excluding you from the conversation.
No, that's fine. I'm thinking that it's a bathroom break or it's a place. You say, yeah, I agree. I'll mask my feelings, but I need to just duck away for a minute to do some deep breathing, and so I can comment. Whatever, you can tell him that. It may not be what you do. You may hit your head on the lockers. I don't know, but you do need a little sort of segue. So you're going along with him, but you need a space. So it's like, I got to go to the washroom or get out or do something. So you need some kind of a space between.
Absolutely. Hopefully that works for you, their project. Anyways, we've reached the top of the hour. Thanks so much for joining us for this particular episode of the Differently Wired Show, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, if you want to support the show, there are two ways that you can do it. One is obviously financial, and the other one is non-financial. If you have the capacity to support us financially, there's a PayPal link in the description box below. I know a lot of people are asking me to set up a Patreon. I've explained on past shows why I'm not setting up a Patreon, but I will be setting up something Patreon-like in the very near future, so stay tuned for that. But until that time comes, there is a PayPal link down there. Feel free to use it if you want. Although if you are unable to contribute to the show's development financially, the best thing that you guys can possibly do is just take this particular video or any of the videos on my channel and share them around. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the people that have been sharing my videos around the last couple of months. Because over the last couple of months, I've gained so many subscribers, people coming to my channel thanking me for the work that I've done, not just for the Asperger's videos, but for the video game videos. And when you guys do that, it increases the chance that we have people to donate to us in the future so that we can continue to build greater content, not just for my channel, but for the Differently Wired show in general. So please continue to do that. Your efforts have been paying off. Just today, I hit 35,000 subscribers, and hopefully we continue the upward trend. Before we conclude, I also just want to thank Joel and Max for joining us on this particular show. Thanks so much for contributing your insights. And we hope to have you on. We hope to have you on in the near future. If you guys want to talk about anything, feel free to sign up again. And obviously, I want to thank John, as always. Couldn't do this without him. I'm sorry if we sort of excluded you from the conversation there, John. Do you even know what cosplay is?
I could be actually on a safari in Africa, and I would see all these strange creatures, and that's what I've been doing, listening to games. I've never done games. But it's interesting, and it helps me understand something of the gamer's world, and I need to, because that's a whole other issue for another show. Addictions, gaming, marijuana. There's an awful lot of stuff in there that is really interesting.
Did you just insinuate that people that play video games are all potheads?
I'm not saying.
He's not saying anything. He's just saying he doesn't understand. That's right. Do you not know what cosplay is?
Costco, the store where you buy cheap groceries?
Oh, dear God. Okay. Okay, I'll explain it to you after the show, John. That's a good note to end the show on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, again. And until next Wednesday when we do this again, have a lovely, lovely day.